Up first, Joseph Daniel. Is that a man in rest? Wow. Your king knocked this one out the park. Make it permanent then, my friend.
To be born again is to go back to the original. A stronghold is when something comes on top of the original and it creates fortified cities, it creates walls, boundaries, these different things to establish its existence and so that it doesn't get removed. I want to discuss 4 things in this particular video. This is the charting of the course, the chart the course video of what you'll see of all the different videos that come from Making the Man from me, Joseph Daniel. First thing we wanted to talk about is the purpose of Making the Man, or why did we choose to do this? Second thing, why did I feel the need that I myself had to go stay with my mom at 30 years old? And why did it take 3.5 years just to get to this point? Okay. Third thing is, what is the plan, or what am I doing now to accomplish my goal for coming here in 2016? Okay. The last thing we're going to talk about, the fourth thing, is where am I headed in life that I believe so strongly in the unseen things. Okay, that is the last thing. Why do I believe, or where am I headed in life that I believe so strongly that I have to focus on these unseen things? So the first thing we're going to talk about, what was the purpose of Making the Man? The purpose of Making the Man was a public display of the kingdom of heaven. I hear a lot, or I've heard a lot, of people getting breakthroughs, and I hear they've operated by spiritual laws, but they never realize that there were even unseen laws to begin with. And the initial reason why I love the idea of Making the Man was because I wanted the world to see the reality of the Bible. You know, the Bible is a perfectly imperfect book. I learned this many years ago in the power of the kingdom of heaven. All right, the power of the kingdom of heaven in the reality of the Bible. That was initially why I did it. And it was very difficult to get to this point, to actually do this. This idea came a year ago, and different things transpired, as you'll see coming up, of what pushed me to where, all right, I got to do this, and I got to do it now if this is something that I'm supposed to be doing. All right, the second thing, why did I feel at 30 years old that I had to go and stay with my mom to fix whatever was broken? That's why. I was broken as a person. And in order to not continuously do the same things, I began asking for help to the Heavenly Father, Yahshua. And one day, my mom said, hey, you should come and stay. And that was a day, it was the right day, obviously. And I said yes. And it was difficult, and it's been difficult, you know, being 30 and in my mind and that whole thing. But I see, I've already known before I came here that it was going to be, you know, exactly what I had planned. But I see why it took 3.5 years. And the reason it took 3.5 years is because, in part, I didn't know what to do. I knew I was messed up. I knew that a lot of stuff from the past was like a cycle that just kept repeating itself. It kept repeating itself in just many different ways. So for at least a year of being here, I was just living, you know, just living and working and not really targeting the root issues, or even trying to figure out what is the root issues that I can now put the truth back on top of it, or put the original back on top and pull down those strongholds. I didn't even know what a stronghold was. That had something to do with it. So all these different things, ultimately it boils down to knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Me not having the knowledge of life and understanding my place and where I'm at in all of this thing that we call life. I didn't have the wisdom to apply the knowledge that I did have. And I had no understanding of what was going on. Right? Or I had very little understanding of what really was going on from salvation in this whole flesh versus spirit fight. So those are the three things, or those are the few things of why it took 3.5 years. The reason that it transpired into the mess that it transpired, it all boils down to my decisions. But it started at 12 when I was molested by a guy. All right, and he wasn't far from my age, but he was older. And at the time, I didn't know what it was. And when about a year later, when I was watching Real Sex, about 13 years old, when I realized what it was like, that's when everything just seemed like, oh, okay, that shame and everything was. Next thing happened at 13 years old. I almost killed a friend of mine. You know, we had a dispute. He pushed me, he pushed me, and I cut him with a razor blade. And he literally could have died. We were at school. It was literally 12 p.m. or around 12 p.m. We're about to get out of school early. And he was a friend of mine. It was just a stupid kid argument, and I didn't know what a razor blade would do. And it almost killed the guy, and it scarred him for life. And then that night, I had to go and face all these people in church. That was a very traumatic thing. And then very next year, my dad died. Seeing him one night playing. In fact, I was kind of nervous that one of my friends, he ate some of his cookies, and I'm thinking they warned me about letting my friends come over and eat in the pantry, that they were going to be upset. And he didn't have a problem with it. And we were wrestling, having fun, and then next thing I know, my brother saying, hey, we need to pray. Dad's in the hospital. I never thought he was going to die. He had already had a stroke, so I didn't think he was dead. But I see my brother praying, made me think, okay, maybe this is serious. So that happened. And then the very next year, I started smoking weed. And I played basketball. I had aspirations to play basketball. And I don't know if this was no coincidences, right? The number one player in the state was it was me, him, and somebody else smoking. So in my mind, there was no initial reason not to smoke, because, hey, man, I want to play basketball. That's all I want to do at the time. That's all I want to do in life, play basketball. He's the number one player in the state. Nobody's better than him in the whole state. Maybe, in my mind, nobody's better than him in high school, period. He's right here. Okay. And so these four things ended up almost creating a lock on my being. I became somebody that I wasn't previously. I became shy, I became insecure, all these different things led to a host of issues. And then when I got saved at 22, disobedience led me down paths that I never, ever saw happening. And then coming here, after 3.5 years coming to my mom's, I figured out, okay, all of this stuff, being homeless, the addiction, self-sabotaging my opportunities. Every time I get an opportunity to do anything, it's like I do something myself. I mess it up. Like they don't choose. I mess it up. And then consistently, from thing after thing, industry after industry, to all find out that it all boils down to stuff when I was 12 years old. Like, you have to deal with that. You have to, you have to apply truth to those situations, and then pull down those strongholds that were established at that point, and then reestablished once you chose to rebel and be disobedient after you were made clean and brought back to the original. All right, so that's the second thing, why that was. The third thing is, what's the plan as of now, or what are we doing now to accomplish why we came here, to fix what was broken, and to move on with our life, and to go forward and to accomplish, everything that we desire to accomplish. As you just saw, I call those sessions. I call those sessions because they remind me of fitness training. All right, it's just spiritual training. And I've learned that there is a thing called spiritual fitness. When we're so into the fleshly things, we could probably only take about an hour, maybe 30 minutes sometime, of the spiritual things before we feel exhausted, before we feel fatigued. But we have to keep going to those spiritual things. We have to keep pushing it. And it's like spiritual fitness. Then we can stick 2, 3, 4 hours into those spiritual things. And then those fleshly things become uncomfortable to sit into. It comes foreign. The point is for the routine to become a lifestyle. But more so than a lifestyle, but for the routine, it's for my thoughts. All right, for my thoughts to follow through. So every season will not allow me to do 3 times a day, doing this. But the lasting effects is key of doing it 3 times a day. Right now, doing it 3 times a day, the lasting effects is crucial because of the way that it's going to govern my thoughts and the pattern my thoughts are going to flow through from this period of my life. And the last thing we're going to talk about on charting the course, chart the course for making the man Joseph Daniel, is where am I headed in life that I believe so strongly in the unseen things. Well, when 2014 happened, when I first got the vision of Power Voyage, which other videos we're going to get into that, it was very clear to me, June 2014, I never forget it, that this was real. The whole summer of 2014, it was very clear that the vision that he gave me was not just my own thinking, and it wasn't some hallucinations. It was real. And so to fulfill whatever Yah has for me, whatever the future has, you know, I know what I'm supposed to be doing right now, and I know what He showed me, but whatever it is, I know that my body must be a sanctuary for Yahshua. I know that Yahshua, He must dwell into my body peacefully. No stifling and disrupting whatever He's doing. And my body and my soul must live in harmony with the Holy Spirit on autopilot. You know, like the moon comes and does what it does, and the sun comes and does what it does. It never misses a day. Never. It's because it was given a command, and that command has dominion over it, and it does it, and it does it, and it does it. And so the goal and the point is for everything that you're going to see over the course of these videos with Joseph Daniel, with myself, it's all about the kingdom of heaven having